There we go. Let's bring in our Facebook folks before it's officially time to get going here. Boom, boom, boom. 1 and 2. There we go. Welcome in. Welcome in. It is Thursday, June 23rd. I was like January 23rd. No, June 23rd. And man, we are right in the thick of the things with the off season. Summer is officially here. We have our first official heat wave coming to us in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest. Looks like it's going to be nice and dry. And Scott, I am still exhausted, but I'm happy to be here after missing. I was having a little bit of FOMO, missing out so much these last couple of shows.
Yeah, I get it. And then it feels like you've been gone for, 6 weeks. I was just I missed like Friday and then had a tournament and, was back on Monday. I'm like, I feel like I've been gone a month.
Yeah.
Listening to the folks in the chat, it sounds like they could use a respite.
Yeah.
Some are more serious than others, but some inconveniences and then some rough times for some other people. So we're glad to be here for you, and maybe we can, entertain you. Are you not entertained? We can entertain you for at least, 45 minutes to an hour. Maybe help out just a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. And you guys help us out just as much. But let's say hello to some people in the chat here. Ethan in the house, as always. Good to see you, Ethan. And thank you to the two loves that came in over on Facebook from Dom and Leonard. If you guys could do that if you're on Facebook or YouTube, click the thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. But Ethan comes in and says, "Good afternoon, Jensen Broncos country. Hopefully you're doing well out there in London, Ethan. Appreciate you." We got Dale in the house too. Dale, man, thinking about you a lot. Hope you really. I saw your other comment down here. We'll get to that. But good afternoon, Ethan. Good morning, Nick and Scott and Dylan? ? And Broncos country. Good to see you. And also, Dale helps us out here. Says, please remember to click the like button. Be like Dale. Click the like button. Thank you so much. We also got a care coming in from Scott Kennedy. Oh, Scott, bless you. Diamond Rattler coming in over on YouTube saying, boom, let's ride. Good to see you, Diamond. EJ in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott and Broncos country. Awesome to see you. And Dale also said, tough 24 hours. Brought his wife home yesterday, manner of speaking. We're all thinking of you, Dale. That's rough. But we're here. Also, if you ever need something, reach out to my DMs. I think my DMs are open on Twitter. If you just need to chat, I might be home for a little bit here, working from home. So we'll see. But for real, if you need just somebody to bend an ear on, we're here. Jeremy Sean saying, morning, guys. How about those Avs? Did you watch the hockey game yesterday, Scott?
No, I did not watch the hockey game. I watched the end of the Braves game as they put the one on the 32-1 San Francisco Giants when leading after 8 innings. So they beat them last night after being 32-0. So scored 3 in the bottom. I know it's just 1 of 162, but it's still a fun game. So after I got done with the pod last night with y'all, I watched the end of the Braves game and then I was out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I saw that there's a little bit of controversy, like too many men on the ice for the game-winning goal in overtime. But, that's sometimes that crap happens. It sucks when you are on the other end, but you have human refs and mistakes are going to happen. And if you wanted to remove the element of reffing, be better, I guess, play without the margin of error. So even if you get the bad flip the coin in that, you still win. So go Avs. We have Ethan coming in too saying, was hoping that this would be the topic today as Jeudy and Russell Wilson were also named the second-rated new quarterback and wide receiver combo behind Carr and Adams. I didn't see this. Do you know what article he's talking about here? Or was this on PFF as well?
The second one, the second-rated combo? No, but I can see that one, and we can get into why as we get in. I can understand that rationale. I would think Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman are going to be in there as well because that should be pretty salty.
Yeah,
as a new combo.
Probably pretty easy to think that number one is Devontae Adams and Derek Carr, just because.
Yeah, I think there's we'll get into it now. There's more mouths to feed in Denver. It's a deeper wide receiver core. So not necessarily that if you switch Adams and Jeudy, I'd probably still say Carr and Jeudy, just because he's going to get the lion's share of the targets because there's not as many weapons in Denver. There's some weapons, but there's not as many. We list off a bunch of them when we start talking Denver Broncos. So I just think that Adams is going to get significantly more targets than any of the Denver Broncos receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The one here that's listing Jerry Jeudy and Russell Wilson as number 2. Do you think there's an argument to be made for Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill? Obviously Russell Wilson is eons better than Tua Tagovailoa, but Tyreek Hill is obviously a splashier name than Jerry Jeudy. And I think that obviously there's, as you mentioned it, there's less mouths to feed in the other end because Tua is going to be the quarterback probably no matter what. Teddy's there. We'll see what happens with that. But I think it's more likely that I think Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa have a higher floor, I guess.
There's an argument, but it's more about Tyreek Hill than it
Yeah.
is
No,
Tagovailoa
100%.
because Tagovailoa is just dumping it underneath.
Yep.
I was reading through the PFF article, the most accurate passers, and Tagovailoa is throwing the ball 3 yards every time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's more accurate. Yeah, because he averages 3 yards per attempt. It's he's just doing so little crossing routes and all that. It's going to be a bubble screen. Well, he threw the ball, but it doesn't really matter who's throwing the ball when that's all you're doing. So there's an argument to be made as far as pure dynamicism as a combo. I like Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman better than Tua and Hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that speaks as much as what we think of Tua and what he's been doing. But we'll see.
There
Thank you
you
so
go.
much.
I like this article already. Ethan comes in and says Ryan and Pittman were 3rd, and Tua and Hill were 6th. So yeah, makes more sense to me.
Let me know who's 4 and 5, just because I'm curious. There's probably some obvious ones here or there, but I'm now he got me pondering who the wide receivers that were moved were.
He says he did post it a link to it.
Ooh,
Allen Robinson,
Allen Robinson, and Matt Stafford. That's got to be one. I'd bet.
I kind of joke, but I'm half serious. I kind of judge announcers, color commentaries, but are they saying what I'm thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm pretty good at this. I just don't have a Super Bowl ring, and that limits your ceiling when you're doing media stuff. But my wife was always amazed. I'd say something watching a game, and then the announcer would just say, "It's like you just said that." I'm like, I know. I've been watching football for 40 years. I'm a smart guy. I get it. It's when you're talking about this, that's what Nick, we talk about sometimes. I don't get into the minutia, the super intricate details, levels upon levels. It's because that's not necessarily always my audience. Our audience is more mainstream, kind of like you're talking to a television broadcast. So this makes sense. It makes sense to me anyway. Ryan and Pittman 3, and then Tua and Tyreek Hill a little bit lower. Definitely makes sense to me. So I like it. I like this guy. Who is he or she? Who is this person?
Absolutely. I do like the minutia, but I like to see how the sausage is made, and it's probably the scientist.
Oh, I love it.
Heart.
It's a good combination for us. I love it. Because then I can ask you questions and learn where I don't have the patience to dig that deep into certain things. I like to go. Just on my instincts a lot. And Jeremy says, "Hi, I know I'm a smart guy." I know. Well, I kind of sometimes I do dumb things. We all do, but I'm smarter than the average bear. Since we already hit Maximus, we might as well hit Yogi.
I would say that I'm a more of a Kobe Bryant approach, where it's just a high volume, and some of it shoots, or some of it sticks, but most of it is just pure garbage. But we got Michael coming in, not garbage, saying, "Good morning, Nick and Scott. I'm Broncos for breakfast. Let's ride and go Broncos." Good to see you, Mike. Also, Dave Glassman in the house. Good to see you, Dave. Also saw a US Dave saying, "Morning, suck." Hopefully, the mornings are a little bit more fun with us in here hanging out with you. We also got Dom in the house saying, "Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Nice to have you back, Nick. We miss you, buddy. Denver Broncos for life." Yeah, no, I'm back. I'm here. As long as I don't, lose my voice or something, I'm going to be here for the foreseeable future. I can't think of another Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll miss a couple Thursdays in August, but other than that, I'm going to be here. So you're stuck with me, guys. But good to see you, Dom. Also, Mike Givens in the house saying, "Good morning, Nick and Scott. Go Broncos." Good to see you. Also, Mark Schrader in the house saying, "Good morning, guys." Good to see you, Mark. And Mark also saying the 6 guys on the ice didn't affect the goal. I mean, if there were 6 guys on the ice, who cares? That's what I'm saying. It still happened. But
though, you'd be pissed off if the guy, there are 12 men on the field and that guy's running to the outside and it's a flag. If it was a rule, it's a rule. Yep. Andrew says, "Good morning with some stars, breaking the ice on the stars." Ethan got us going on Super Chat on YouTube, and Ethan breaking the ice on the stars. And Jeudy Splash comes in with just a little bit of flattery. Like I said, I'm a sucker for flattery because I'm insecure. I might be smart, but I'm definitely insecure. I heard a comic one time talk about the mindset of the Californian, where they're incredibly self-absorbed but insecure. So he goes, "I may not be much, but I'm all I think about." And 40 years, Scott, you lucky in your 30s. I appreciate that. I am 49. So I've actually been watching football. My first real memory of a game was the Steelers Rams Super Bowl. And then like from then, like really starting watching football, I remember 1980s. So it's been 40 plus years that I've been watching football.
My first memory is
you learn a thing or two being around it and stuff. So and then having the being blessed enough to work in sports and being able to talk to coaches and say, listen, instinctively, I know what looks right to me, but can you explain it to me? I don't know how to explain it to someone else. And I don't know why this quarterback's release bothers me, but it looks bad. Tell me. And they're like, okay, watch this. And they break it down for me. I'm like, okay, thank you. I get that. So I've been blessed to be around a lot of people who are much more experienced and knowledgeable than me and been able to learn from them as well. So, but appreciate the compliment, Jeudy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeudy. Good to see you in here. Good morning to you. Also, I don't know if we saw Andrew already, but always like to say hello to Andrew Lampy. That's a decently recent new profile picture there. So good to see you. Also, Greg Smith is in the house. Good morning. Aloha to you, Broncos for breakfast. Good to see you. And here we go. Watson and Cooper, number 4. Okay, I didn't think of that. Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson.
4.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put Watson on any list right now.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. Kyler and Hollywood Brown, 5. That's one that I like a lot. That's a good one.
I do like that one too. That's a good receiver and that's a good quarterback. That's a combo, not necessarily just, okay, well, an okay quarterback's thrown to a very dynamic guy, but yeah, here's how it goes.
Absolutely. And Vinny J coming in saying, so tired of hearing about Jeudy. I want to see him catch touchdowns and shut his mouth. Well, the unfortunate part of it is that we're in the off season. So anything that is new content, we are going to latch onto and dissect because it is new content. So right now it is Jeudy. I don't feel like he talks that much. Honestly, you do see him like tweet sometimes, but I don't really think he's talking that much. I do want to see him catch some touchdowns. But that's not entirely his issue. He can't throw the ball to himself. He can't design the offense for himself. So hopefully this year will be good. And we'll get into that here pretty soon with the PFF ranking the 10 best year 3 breakout candidates. Sunny Days in the house as well with all the hearts. Good to see you, Sunny Days. Hope you're doing well. We also got Toyin. Good morning, afternoon, all. Good to see you. Also, I saw Clee to the T's in the house. Awesome to see you, Clee. Travis in the house. Good morning, Nick, Scott, and Broncos country. Awesome to see you, Travis. Aloha, or hang loose, as Scott does there. And EJ coming in saying, Jeudy could improve his game by becoming a better run blocker and breaking tackles, getting stronger and more physical. What do you think about this, Scott? Is this even something that's possibly in Judy's wheelhouse? And I think the run blocking in general, or just the blocking, let's call it blocking, could be better. But as far as breaking tackles, getting stronger and more physical, he's pretty slender in his lower half.
Yeah, you can always get stronger and you can be wiry strong, but that's not his game. That's not his game. I was thinking, doing comps in my head about some players, and I started thinking about Randall Cunningham. And I don't know how many of y'all were old enough to watch Randall Cunningham play, but Randall Cunningham was just smooth as silk. He was long, lean, looked like a possession receiver, like a really graceful receiver out there playing the quarterback position. Everything he did was smooth. Would he have benefited by bulking up and putting on extra pounds and muscle weight? Probably not. Could Jeudy get stronger? Sure he could. But he could benefit. Yes, this statement is true. You can benefit by becoming a better run blocker and getting stronger and more physical. Absolutely. That's why these guys train all the time. That's never going to be his game. That's not going to be what makes him who he is. He can become significantly better by being more disciplined in his routes, being on target with his assignments. And I'm not going to say he could be better by, giving everything he's got on every down, because I don't know that he doesn't, but that's one of the things he needs to do. We've talked about, you can tell some players if they're in the pattern or not based on how they break the huddle. Yeah. Does Jerry Jeudy, is he one of those guys that gives it all on every single snap? I don't know that. I'm not saying he doesn't, but again, just becoming that professional, from what I've seen, from what I've gleaned, from what I've listened to, it seems like he lacks that a little bit in his game so far in his first 2 years with the Denver Broncos. And that comes with maturity. It really does. Roddy White was one of the best examples of that. He was an all-pro receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. I think Joe Horn played against him one time, and Joe Horn was with the Saints, And Joe, after it was like the last game of the season, he came out of here. I'll always respect Joe Horn for this. Joe Horn went to Roddy White after the game. He says, I'm a free agent. I'm coming here. I'm going to teach you how to play this game. And he did. And Roddy White was awesome. I see that would be a good comp for me with Jerry Jeudy in the maturation.
Yeah, hopefully he's better this season. Big one for me highlighted here is the run blocker. Based on what the Packers did last year, using that slot wide receiver as almost essentially a big tight end, a move piece that was very important for the outside zone run scheme and the RPOs. If Judy's going to be playing that slot position, he's going to have to show better want and ability as a run blocker. And does he have that in him? We'll find out, I guess. But I think obviously he's going to have a much better season this year as long as he can stay healthy, just because the offense is going to be more dynamic. The quarterback's going to be more dynamic. And let's not make it all about the stuff surrounding him. Year 3 should be better for him, and he should be healthy. The high ankle sprain last year, we can't say that enough. That really, especially for a receiver who's very dependent on quick twitch and separation, that high ankle sprain makes it so you can't plant off and put as much force going one direction. I believe it was his right ankle. So hopefully that'll be fully healed up and he'll be healthy throughout the season and can be the number 1 breakout candidate for a Year 3 player. C. Patrick Havner coming in here with the stars. Thank you so much, C. Patrick. Hopefully you're doing well. Good morning to you. We also got Brad D in the house saying good morning from Big Sky. God, Scott, it's a very long state, but driving through Montana, absolutely gorgeous. Man, it's
I told you the joke I heard from another comedian. Now I'm going back about, speeding in Montana. You got pulled over and it was like, that'll be $5 payable on site. He's like, $5? Here's a 20. I'm speeding through your whole damn state. Yeah. So yeah, Montana is one of the few states I haven't been through that stretch in the very middle of the country, Montana or the Dakotas. I've hit just about everywhere else in this beautiful country of ours.
Man, Montana from Billings on through on 90, gorgeous. A lot of mountains. Still kind of freaky to see how high the Yellowstone River was. That's a big bummer, seeing all the signs with Yellowstone, all entrances closed. But
just go around. It's just a little detour.
God, yeah. Just avoid the super volcano. It'll all be fine. Kayleon in the house. Good to see you, Kayleon. Also, Bama X is in the house. Awesome to see you, Bama X. And
Mark Schrader coming with the huge stars. Appreciate you both. Mark, we appreciate you, for sure. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate Mark, and we appreciate you sharing with us and letting us know a little bit about yourself. And if we can do anything to help, the Broncos family, we call it Broncos country, but this is the MHH family. And I'm proud to be part of it and proud you're here too.
Yeah, absolutely. And EJ coming in saying Jeudy lacks maturity and needs to become more of a team guy instead of a me guy. He needs to lose the diva attitude. Diva attitude is okay with me as long as he is producing on the field and not committing, crimes. There is a level. But you guys want to talk about, the diva attitude and me first. He was really good at the social media game, but pretty notoriously, Emmanuel Sanders was prickly and not the most enjoyable person, best person, and didn't really matter because he was producing on the field and Broncos were winning. So Jeudy doesn't have to become even a team guy or anything. Antonio Brown, not a team guy. A lot of wide receivers that have been great, not team guys. If you are winning and they are producing and not being distractions to the point of, impacting the game or the team, then I don't have really an issue with it. I'm not expecting every single person to come in and be the militaristic, cookie cutter personality.
No, I think that really took a turn where, the quarterbacks used to be the divas, the prima donnas, and it seemed like that took a turn to the wide receiver position with the Keyshawn Johnson, Terrell Owens time, right about then. That's been a few years. It's been a while where, the diva position now, they call them divas. The wide receivers are divas. You're not going to get that out of him. And if it's part of the game and part of the swagger of makes him, he's a little undersized, so he needs to have a little bit of that extra little man syndrome in him that's helped make him who he is. I don't mind it, but produce. Yeah. You gotta back it up. It's okay to be a diva, but you better be a good one. Deshaun Jackson, one of the biggest divas I've ever seen. Kid could play. He could play.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vinny coming in here. This is kind of a topic that we were talking about before the show with the 2020 redraft, and it's all about Jeudy, but he's saying, we could have had Justin Jefferson and Josh Allen. If you did that and every team knew what every player was going to be, you end up with, who did PFF have the Broncos going 15 overall for in that draft?
Tua.
I thought it was Jalen Hurts.
You're right. I'm sorry. It was
Okay.
Jalen Hurts. Yes, it was Jalen Hurts.
Yep. And Justin Jefferson, I think, went number 3, and Tristan Wirfs, the guy that I wanted in that draft really badly, not just because Iowa, he's a freaking a good guy, and I met him a few times, but they had the Broncos going Jalen Hurts at 15, so it's hard. You can do this every time, it's captain hindsight, but it's general manager hindsight.
Yeah, and we'll remember, when we talked about
Yep.
what we can look through the draft and say, okay, this is who they drafted, this is who I wanted. And it'll only be 2 or 3 names. We're not going to
Yep.
go back into the 7th round and say this guy was a stud. Oh, we could have had that guy. Well, he got passed over 200 times by then. That is,
Yep.
I think Nick just said captain hindsight. Abraham Lucas was my guy. Travis Jones was my guy. Kristen Watson, those are my guys. I'll keep an eye on them. And, when we say, okay, did we reach a little bit on this spot? Who else did you like in this spot? When we grade in hindsight these drafts, we'll only name a couple guys because you can't do it that way and say, oh, well, Tom Brady, I've said with a small enough sample size, you could build a super team, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But that said, Nick, Josh Allen was a legitimate candidate in that spot.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be fully transparent. I swung too hard in the pendulum of Paxton Lynch and the big, small school armed, not the quickest with his decisions, inaccurate quarterback scared me. I didn't take enough into account of the heart, and that's something from where we sit. It's hard to get all that information. Yeah, nope. That's one reason I was so big on like Trey Lance or all these other tools quarterbacks. If you're going to swing on a quarterback, you better fricking swing because hitting a single at the quarterback possession does you nothing. So you want to swing big. Wyatt Horning coming in saying, good morning, gents. Been a while since I've been able to catch a live show. Good to see you, Wyatt. Hopefully you're doing well. Glad to see you too this morning. We're glad to see you. Also wanted to highlight this again from Greg saying, awesome stars, Mark Schrader. Thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate you. So let's get into this. Pro Football Focus has Jerry Jeudy as the number 1 third-year breakout candidate in the entire NFL. So they lead it off here with, while year 2 is often associated with the biggest leap in NFL performance over the course of rookie deals, year 3 is a close second. Just ask the likes of Deebo Samuel, Jonah Williams, Max Crosby, and Rashawn Gary last season. All had phenomenal seasons. With the tape, PFF grading, and PFF database at my disposal from Mike Renner, I tried to identify 10 such candidates for 2022. I tried to avoid any players who have legitimately broken out already, even if the media narrative maybe has not quite caught up. Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle from the Giants. Here are my 10 biggest breakout candidates from the 2020 draft class. Number 1 being Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Denver Broncos. And he says that Jeudy has been on the precipice of a breakout for seemingly his entire career. Between the quarterback play in Denver and a litany of injuries, we still haven't gotten to see Jeudy make the leap. With Russell Wilson now throwing him the ball, that looks primed to change. Even without Wilson last year and dealing with an ankle injury for most of the season, Jeudy still averaged 1.85 yards per route, a figure better than 5 different 1,000-yard receivers in 2021. His skill set and route running ability are very similar to the man who caught more passes from Wilson than anyone else, Doug Baldwin. Ooh, that's a good point. After lining up primarily on the outside as a rookie, Jeudy went back to his college roots in the slot in 2021, where Baldwin also primarily operated over the course of his career. That's a role Wilson is obviously very comfortable pumping targets towards, and has a nice link of Jeudy running a sick route. So hopefully more sick routes this season from Jerry Jeudy. But Jerry Jeudy, number 1 year 3 breakout candidate, according to Pro Football Focus. What do you think? You're muted. Muted.
I'm muted because I was asking you to, hey, send me that link. I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it on their site. Google found it. Isn't it amazing how you have to use Google to search other people's websites? So I found it. I don't know the rest of the league to say, okay, well, keep an eye on, this third-year guy with, the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, I don't know, should he be the number 1? What I do know, and I've said it all along, we said it yesterday, Nick, that when we were talking about disappointing players, who could be disappointing? Well, disappointment is relative to expectations. Jerry Jeudy, to me, could be a disappointing player this year because I do have high expectations for him, because I do expect him to take that leap. Where he was 800 yards or so as a rookie, battled injuries and team turmoil last year, but now he's coming in with a very creative, fun offensive coordinator that's going to want to play to his strengths. You've got a quarterback who can improvise and pump the ball downfield, who can throw on the run, and Jeudy's lateral movement is going to make him option number one when plays break down, in my opinion. If he's on the field, he's going to be option number one when plays break down. His route running inside, moving back into the slot where it's a little easier to get open. Yeah, I think he should be even if he's in the 800 range, I think that was pretty close to where he was as a rookie, that it should be 800 more impactful yards where he's moving the sticks, where he's scoring touchdowns, extending drives. Again, there's a lot of mouths to feed on offense, but I think Jerry Jeudy will become a more impactful player for the Denver Broncos this year. Absolutely.
Yeah, and what you're getting at there is one of my favorite words and things to discuss when talking football. There's so many mouths to feed in Denver. As you mentioned, you talked about Jeudy being the number one option when plays break down. I think the running backs might have something to say about that as well in this offense if we're trying to copy paste what the Packers have done. But the word we're looking for here with Jeudy is not just the bulk volume stats getting better. It's the efficiency. With so many mouths to feed and so many viable targets and options. Even if Jeudy doesn't break 1,000 yards this year, you said each catch and reception and play could be more impactful. So we're talking, better yards per attempt, yards per completion, yards per route run, better efficiency when he is targeted. I think last year Jeudy had one of the worst quarterback ratings when targeted. Now, granted, he had I think number one at the same time, number one are the highest rate of least catchable targets, which is. Those go hand in hand, folks, of course. There's a little bit of, correlation between those two statistics, no doubt. But hopefully this year, even if Jeudy doesn't break 1,000 yards, it's going to be much more efficient, much more impactful, and making a bigger impact on the game. And we kind of talked about this. I don't think it was on this show. It might have been with Carl on Billy and the Broncos. But a lot of this is going to come down to just how good Justin Outen and Nathaniel Hackett are in the week-to-week game plans. When you have a lot of weapons, sometimes that is a good thing, obviously. But the onus then shifts to the quarterback being able to identify the matchups and the offensive game planners in the process of leading up to the game, identifying the matchups and targeting those week to week. It can't just be, we have Calvin Johnson. I'm going to spam the square button like on a PlayStation, and we're just going to run 9 routes the whole game and toss it up to Calvin Johnson. No, you have to be able to pick apart what the opposing team is weak at, or a specific type of route or coverage that they like to run that you have a breaker for, and target that. And then when they make an adjustment at halftime, you already have we think you're going to do that, and we're going to move to this. So a lot of what Jeudy could do this season and all the weapons is going to be very dependent on the ability of the game planners to work in and identify the weaknesses of opposing teams that they can take advantage of.
And like you said, for the quarterback to keep everybody involved, to keep everybody, again, if it's like, man, you're calling this route, like, man, I'm not getting the ball again. That starts showing in body language, and it shows over the course of the season. So keep everybody involved, keep everybody enthused. And I think there's going to be, again, enough plays. I've said this, I'll have to write it down somewhere. Just so we remember it and come back to it and see if I was right. But I think there should be between 20 and 25% more offensive plays this year in that neighborhood this year. So that should be more targets for everybody. That should be more involvement. It should be, okay, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines on offense while our defense gives up another 11-minute drive. Everybody should be more involved. And that, again, that will be a byproduct of the team itself. But then, like you said, then it comes down to the quarterback to make sure that the ball is getting spread around, not evenly. This isn't, I need my fair share. This is, just enough to keep everybody involved. But Jeudy is good enough that he should be an option on every route.
Yeah, absolutely. And just talking a little bit more about Jeudy in this offense, something that I think should help him a lot. It's not only just obviously having a quarterback here, but last year the Broncos had, and this is all stuff, I guess you guys can go back and try to verify. This is stuff that I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But last year the Broncos faced the highest rate of stacked boxes in the entire NFL, 7+ guys in the box.
You've said that enough. I believe it. It's a fact now.
Yeah. Again, there's things that I don't have the data right in front of me, but I've read it. So that I think it's pretty high up there. And I think it was actually higher with Drew Lock than Teddy Bridgewater, which is kind of funny given the narrative of, Teddy's arm is so weak that they pack the box. I digress. Jeudy is a middle of the field operator, has been historically. We saw that Mike Renner mentioned that as well, moving from the Z to the slot from his rookie to his sophomore season. And this season with Russell Wilson, you should see even lighter boxes. And that to me says that there's more room in the middle of the field and more space for Jeudy to operate. And where Jeudy gets really tripped up, in my opinion, and I saw somebody mention it in the comments here, is that when people play physical with him, he can get knocked off his routes. And that's part of the finesse style of the game. It's part of his frame. But if he has a clean break and space to operate, that dude moves different. You look at his knees, it's like, oh my God, that's gonna pop, because there's no way he should be able to move like that. Knock on wood on that one. But with more space, theoretically, in the middle of the field, Jeudy should have more free releases, less contact and garbage that he's going to have to filter through, and therefore be more impactful. The big caveat will be, how much is Russell Wilson going to use the middle of the field? Hasn't done so as much since Doug Baldwin's been gone. But again, in theory, it all does point to Jerry Jeudy having a much better situation and year this year, the more we peel away this onion.
No, you're talking about, his flexibility and how he just moves differently.
Mm-hmm.
The injury he had, that should have been a season ender for 99% of the league. I mean, it was cringeworthy watching that. He's out for a while. It affected him. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it could have been even a lot worse. And you know how you get guys off press coverage? Put them in motion. Mm-hmm. Jerry Jeudy is used to being in motion, except it's, the fake jet sweep. But that's, you can put him in motion. You can move him all around. You can drop him off the line of scrimmage. You can do a lot of things to get him off press, and he'll get better. That's, again, talk about being a little bit more physical. That was, I think that was EJ's comment. How can you be more physical and you can be stronger? You can do all of those things without putting on 20 pounds of muscle. I can get more physical and stronger in order to deal with press coverage. But you can help scheme your way around that a little bit too with, keeping in motion, dropping off the line, doing a bunch of different things. But yeah, he's definitely a weapon. I think his lateral quickness is, I don't think this is a bold statement, is the best of the wide receiver core.
Maybe KJ Hamler.
KJ's a straight line guy for me.
Oh, he's so twitchy though. I mean, he was a gadget guy at Penn State, and they'd get him the ball in space, and he would, Tavon Austin his way to touchdowns. So I would argue KJ's close, but it's different because KJ is short to the ground.
I'll check it. It just my like I said, my instincts tell me that Jeudy is that guy who has a little bit better lateral quickness, and KJ is a straight line guy, but definitely willing to be wrong.
Yeah. And the other thing about this, we keep talking about too many mouths to feed. Not too many, but a lot of mouths to feed on the offense. And I'm going to honest to God, given what I've heard and what I've seen so far, you might even want to categorize Albert Okwuegbunam as much as a wide receiver, as a tight end, given it seems like he's playing a lot of that detached tight end position, the F for the scheme heads at home. And that to me says that if Jeudy, listen, like your first round pick, but this coaching staff, the front office is not loyal to you. And if you are not doing what we want you to do from a snap to snap basis, doing your job, even when the ball's not going to you, guess what? We have other guys that we can go to. So hopefully Jeudy feels a little bit of fire on his butt. And again, coming back to KJ Hamler, if KJ Hamler's healthy, maybe they're looking for somebody who's a little bit more dynamic vertically that can change it's like a 3-point shooter. Kyle Korver out there, not the best defender, but when he's out there, you have to play your spacing differently on defense because he is that good of an automatic 3-point shooter. Maybe they want to go with a KJ Hamler more if Judy's not bringing the blocking or physicality that they want from the slot position. So hopefully Jeudy understands that, just because he was a first round pick and went to Alabama, there's a lot of talented options on this team that if he's not, doing what they want him to do, he's not going to get snaps.
Competition makes them all better. Yep. It makes them all better. And again, with 2 years left on his contract, he can't afford to just sit around and sulk, or else he'll be sitting a long time, or get moved for sure. So again, but going back to the topic question, does it make sense to have him number one breakout candidate? Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does. I mean, Sutton, I think he showed the ability to be a legit number one Pro Bowl receiver. Then he got hurt, and then the league forgot about him. Tim Patrick's Mr. Steady, could be 1,000-yard guy for anybody else as a 1 or a 2. And then Jerry Jeudy's your dynamics. So ready to show everybody why he was drafted so highly to begin with. So yes, I agree. I agree with putting him in the discussion for sure.
And I know we've said this before, but this is probably the biggest, obviously, but this is probably the biggest season for Jerry Jeudy to date for his future earnings. You have corrected the variable of the quarterback position about as much as you possibly could this offseason, and he's entering year 3, where after the season, he will be eligible for a contract extension. Obviously, the Broncos don't have to do that, but he would be eligible. So that changes things a tad. And God, if he
Next
wants
year's
to,
still his biggest year. It only takes one season, Nick.
yeah. But if let's say he has a really good year in
Mhm.
2022 and then gets injured in 2023 and is an
Right.
issue off the field, that could crumble things a tad. But I mean, we're seeing it with
Well, and
Deebo
if you get your
Samuel.
big extension early,
That's
for
exactly
sure,
it.
like you just said, you could get that
Yep.
big extension early, wrap them up and we'll go, hey, we want to extend you 3 years for 60, Jerry. What do you think? All right.
Yep.
That sounds pretty good.
Yep.
There's a good team. Like my quarterback. My quarterback's got at least 3 more years. I like the situation here.
Yep.
So, and Bam X, well, I am listening here about, Bam X is in here talking a lot about defending Jerry Jeudy to some of his detractors. And again, we're not one of his detractors as far as, I don't mind the diva attitude. If he's got it, I don't see it that much, but I don't follow him on Twitter. I don't care.
Yeah.
I see what he has to say when he comes up in press conferences or if he's doing interviews, and I don't see any problem, and when he's out on the field, he seems to be playing his ass off to me. So I don't think his teammates have, and what really matters to me, what do his teammates think about him?
Yeah.
Deion Sanders is one of the biggest divas to ever play the game. His teammates loved him. I'm like, all right, doesn't matter this showmanship, what I think out here. What do his teammates think?
Yeah.
So he seems to be a pretty good teammate too.
Yeah, and honestly, if the Broncos are going to be back this season, you need a few players to be the heel, right? You need somebody to kind of be the bad boys, and maybe Jeudy can lean into that a little bit. Jeudy seems mostly pretty quiet, though.
Yeah.
I do know that for the from some pretty good sources on this one, there were some people in the front office and the PR side of things that were a little bit irritated with some of his Twitter shenanigans, I guess we'll call it.
Causes more work.
Yeah. That's true. We got Benjamin Flores. We've been showing him here for a second, but he says, "Howdy, gentlemen. Good morning. I feel awful today. Hope you feel better, but still made it to the gym at the crack of dawn. Go Broncos." Scott, I've been debating on getting into the gym life as well. I have a buddy out here who is a pretty hardcore power lifter, but my issue is that I do so much of this that something's going to have to, there's only, so many hours in the day, and I do not want to give up my dog walks. I absolutely love my long dog walks, and I feel like I'd be cutting into that if I started going to the gym more.
All right, here's how I started. Not that I'm the picture of health by any measure, but how I've been around enough people to do it, and I have worked out in the past. Start with something simple. I can do 100 crunches a day. It's 2 minutes. 2 minutes of work. There's no excuse for me not to do 2 minutes of work. Or 20 push-ups. I can do 20 push-ups. That's 30 seconds. I have no excuse not to do 30 seconds a day. None. Zero. And then as you start doing that, it becomes easier and easier. You want to do more. And then you start adding on, and incrementally you start getting into it. Not, hey, I want to go do, an hour of workout a day. No. Start small, but do it every day. As you get older, as time flies, if you do something every day, all of a sudden you've been doing it for 6 months. You're like, damn, I've been doing 25 push-ups a day for 6 months. It's just whatever. Add to it a little bit. So just get started. The hardest part's getting started. Do something easy, attainable, and no excuses. 25 push-ups a day is a minute's worth of work. Everybody has a minute.
Well, now I feel
that's my advice,
because I should be doing that. So I walk the dog 3 to 5 miles a day, which has been pretty good. But I would like to start. I'm broad-chested, but I'm not to be a total nerd here. I was a musician more than an athlete in high school and college. It paid for a good bit of college, so I don't feel any regrets there. But might as well start getting into that a little bit. And maybe I can carry more weight up mountains and stuff and start getting into that mountaineering life. But we got Mark coming in saying, "Be safe today, all." As Nick always says, choose kindness. Absolutely want to choose kindness. And Dave Glassman coming in with the stars, I believe, or just a good question. Can't always see that on my end, but he says, here's a fun hypothetical. We'll see. Assuming Russ throws for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, how would this be dispersed? What do you think? Here, Scott, I'm going to kick it to you first since you pulled it up.
If I go... And Dave, thanks for the stars. I'm thinking it wouldn't be crazy to say 800 yards for 3 receivers, right? And there's 2,400. if I get 500 from a tight end, all these seem low, but again, it's like, oh, how good are they going to be if we don't have a 1,000-yard receiver? I could end up with 3 800-yard receivers, and 24 touchdowns apiece. I mean, combined, 808. I could end up with something like that. I get 500 out of my tight ends. Where does that put me? 24, 2,900. I could get 400 each, 400 to 600 for my running backs. I'm at 3,500, and then spread another 500 across 5 different receivers. I'm at 4,000. So I think it's going to be somebody will take the lead, whether it's Courtland Sutton or Jeudy. I think those are my top 2 candidates, more so than Tim Patrick. But I could see it being very, very balanced. I really can.
My issue here isn't the yardage, it's the touchdowns. We need to pump those numbers up. 30 touchdowns isn't doing enough for me. And this is leading into a comment here from Wyatt. Good to see you, Wyatt, saying, I see the tight ends being used more in the red zone due to size and used more blocking outside of the red zone to give Jeudy the space over the middle. With Russell Wilson's height and also just it's the physics, it's space. When the closer you get to the goal line, the less space you have to operate, because the goal line is essential, or the back of the end zone is essentially another defender. I could see the Broncos leaning a bit into the running game more in the red zone than people are thinking. So maybe 30 touchdowns isn't crazy, and also something that Broncos fans probably do remember. But when the Broncos brought in Melvin Gordon from the Chargers 3 off seasons ago now, one of the big things with Melvin Gordon was that he was, I think, the literal most efficient and best red zone running back in football as far as touches converting to touchdowns.
He's still pretty good at it.
Yes. And so is Javonte Williams.
He had 8 last year. So that's what I'm thinking on this too, Nick, is you had 12 touchdowns combined out of Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Could you double that?
Maybe. I mean, you could see him operate in the pass game as well.
I mean, if you were to say, okay, we're going to get 24 touchdowns out of our rushing game, does that sound unreasonable? Not to me, it doesn't. No. Again, you're going to score significantly more points. You're going to have significantly more touches. You're going to have significantly more yards. You're going to have significantly more opportunities. So if you go, 30 touchdowns passing, possible. Maybe Okwebanam isn't as big of a threat in the red zone, but again, Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon are. Yeah. So, and your quarterback is pretty mobile too. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. And finally, our final topic we wanted to get into here from Zebulon saying, my expectations are sky high for Sutton. This is and it's a good problem to have. There are good problems and bad problems. It's a good problem. But one reason that maybe Jerry Jeudy doesn't break out this year is because the Broncos just have too many quality guys to throw the football to. So like I'd like to talk about, you don't have to spam the X button to the same wide receiver over and over again. Something that, that's kind of what the Packers offense was last year with Devontae Adams. Different kind of issue here. And talking about Sutton, I saw that Pro Football Focus also had another article recently ranking the best 32 contracts in the entire NFL, with Courtland Sutton coming in as the number 4 best deal in the entire NFL. So shout out to George Payton for getting this one done.
That sound you heard was Sutton just firing his agent.
God, yeah. Coming off the ACL, et cetera, et cetera.
It's not a list you want to be on as a player. Damn it, man. Yeah. I'm a bargain. What's the matter with you?
Yeah. And the guys above him are number 1 is Jordan Mailata for the Philadelphia Eagles, Mike Evans, wide receiver for the Buccaneers, and Darren Waller, tight end for Las Vegas Raiders. And I've tweeted multiple times towards Darren Waller saying, hey, man, your contract is BS. You should probably hold out. Fingers crossed on that, because it is. It's ridiculous. It's how cheap he is. His contract is, what is it? I have it right here. 4 years, $29 million. He's not even getting $10 million a year. That's crazy. He's not even making $10 million a year. God, toss me some. I'll be your agent, Darren Waller. But anyway, Courtland Sutton, number 4 best deal in the entire NFL. 4 years, $60 million. And what's written here is a new Denver Broncos general manager, George Payton, got right to work inking his club's most important contributors to long-term deals in 2021. None more aptly timed than wide receiver Sutton's 4-year, $60 million extension. 12 wide receivers have signed multi-year extensions for more than $15 million per year since then. Wow, 12. And several more could do so before week 1 of the 2022 season kicks off. Sutton was coming off a breakout sophomore season in 2019, in which his 80.5 receiving grade ranked 13th amongst wide receivers, and his 28 explosive receptions of 15-plus yards ranked 10th, again with substandard quarterback play. Torn ACL suffered in week 2 of the 2020 seasons, derailed a promising ascension, but Sutton regained his form right away in 2021. I would even argue he did not gain his form right away, but I digress.
Well,
With a 9,
that's what I was just looking up, Nick, because I was
yeah,
surprised. So he had 776 yards, okay?
yeah.
And let me see, in the first 6 games, he had almost 500 of that.
The week 2 game was he had like 150
but it wasn't
yards.
just the week 2 because he started off. I was just looking at his game logs because I was going to say, okay, he should have finished stronger coming off an injury, but he really started stronger. It was 14, 159, 37, 47, 120, 94. After that 94 yards against the Raiders, his highest total was 68 after that. So part of that is the opposition that you're facing. They beat up on some bad teams early, and then Teddy's lack of arm strength coming down the line, as you face better opponents, hurts an outside receiver more so than the slot guys. But what that tells me is I think he's really ready to break out now with a guy that's going to stretch. He shouldn't have any questions about him being healthy. Let's get him back to those 1,200 numbers, with more efficiency. When Drew Lock had an arm that could take advantage of an outside receiver a little bit better.
Yeah.
Well, we know Russell Wilson can do that.
Yep, absolutely. I'm buying all the Cortland Sutton stock for this season. But they finish up the article here saying he ultimately dropped just 1 of 95 targets on the year, and his downfield contested catch ability should be marry beautifully with new quarterback Russell Wilson. So really excited to see what Cortland Sutton can do this season. He's the guy I'm buying a lot of stock in, and I expect him to be the Broncos' number 1 wide receiver as long as he's healthy. But there's some other guys that should give him some good competition, which is great for Denver. Honestly, the biggest question for Cortland Sutton is going to be, can the offensive line hold on long enough to let him get down the field to make those explosive pass plays? And can the Broncos do enough with the run game and the quick pass game where they can create or make the opposing defense play more cover 1 or cover 3 looks where there are better opportunities vertically down the field? We'll see. We got Gary Leeds Palmer coming in saying, still waking up, but I'm here. Same, Gary. But hey, Nick and Scott, go Broncos. Let's ride. Good to see you, GLP. Hope you're doing well. And a final comment coming in here before we start to get out, unless there's any super chats that come in. Bama X saying, if Jeudy was more physical, he could easily play the Cooper Kupp role. The reason why teams have a hard time keying in on Kupp is because the Rams will actually line him up as an off-the-hip tight end and have him block. Instead of making it obvious with their star wide receiver, it's hard to key in when you have weapons like that. They'll actually have to go out there and get their hands dirty. Judy's not that. That's the big thing, and that's something we talked about as well. And that's something that the Broncos have hinted at as well. They say that they have a lot of different offensive players have hinted at this. They have a lot of plays that look similar pre-snap. And that to me says that this should line up similar to the Rams. They have a bleep ton of plays that all look similar. And a big reason they can do that is because Cooper Kupp functions as a Z, as a slot, as a F, because he's incredible blocking and getting open from that spot. And because of what he can do from the slot, a lot changes. It's one of the reasons that I was, the more I thought about it, I was actually pretty okay with Drake London, because his ability from the slot, he can do everything there, and you can actually run efficiently out of 11 personnel, where if a team's playing dime, you're going to kill them. I don't think you have that with Jeudy.
The key to the slot is the elite hands, because you drop guys into the slot because it's easier to get them open there. You just said it. There's more things you can do to get them open. When it's almost like, using a basketball reference, if a shooter's struggling, let's get him a couple layups. Let's get him a couple easy looks and heat him up. You do that with wide receivers too. Again, I've mentioned this before. You move guys inside. You don't typically move them outside. Jerry Rice was great in the slot. Jerry Rice was great everywhere. But having those elite hands is one of the most important traits in the slot, because you can get open, but the ball's going to be coming hot. It's going to be coming in a hurry. Cooper Kupp's got that. Is Jerry Jeudy? Will Jerry Jeudy be that guy too? It'll be fun to find out this year for sure.
Yeah. It will be a lot of fun to find out this year, and God, I'm so excited for the season. I'm going to enjoy summer first, don't get me wrong, but this should be a lot more enjoyable season with the stakes that much higher. We got Lawrence coming in saying, I think the Broncos need to play single back. If they don't, I don't see them using our players to their potential. So he's talking about 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 13, or whatever, et cetera, or 10.
Single back most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, the Broncos, I don't see them using a fullback very often. You might have some.
I haven't seen too many pro sets or I formations in a while. You might drop an H back in there with a tight end. Dulcich might drop back in there every so often, but it'll be single back most of the time.
100%. 100%. All right. Well, we also got the DWI guys coming in saying, great show, Jensen Broncos country. Have a great weekend. Final question. Where did Adams line up predominantly in Hackett's offense? Broncos for breakfast, the closer. He lined up in the slot and the boundary a good bit, mostly on the boundary though, but they moved Adams around. They pretty much, it's like they had one superstar basketball player and everything was oriented around getting him open. So that was the big one there. They moved him around, but mostly on the boundary.
Yeah, I think I would think they moved him around a ton and saw him inside just because of his size. He's not a bigger guy, if I'm not mistaken. He doesn't strike me as a 6'3" guy. Just been a while. I'm already flushing stuff and thinking about next year, but he's not all that big, is he, Nick?
No, he's not very big. 6'1", 215. I mean, he's about
bigger
average.
than I thought then. Okay.
Yeah.
He is. I had him in my mind as like a 5'11" guy or 5'10". So he's plenty big then.
Yeah, he's not like a Twin Tower-esque,
No, but he's definitely
receiver.
big enough.
Yeah, and the 215, honestly, it's the weight. That's the big one for me. 215 is good size. Last year, specifically, he had 655 snaps out wide and 282 in the slot. So mostly out wide, but that's, to be expected.
Yeah, and he's a legit number one for sure. Yep. And again, for some reason, I pictured him as more of a, not Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill's small, but like a 5'10" running back type, honestly. I don't know why. So that's how he is in my head. So 6'1", 215, he's plenty big. He's plenty big to play wherever you need him. So good question, Ethan. Thanks for closing us out today.
Yeah, we appreciate you. And his height and weight, he's a 48th percentile for height according to Mock Draftable.
Big enough.
75th for the weight. So he's a decently thick boy, and that was 6'1", 212 what he weighed at the combine. So I like those wide receivers that have a little bit of meat in their bones.
Girth.
Yeah, I like there's one reason I was obsessed with Deebo Samuel when he came out. Loved him. I know the Broncos took a wide receiver the year prior. They used Cortland Sutton and Deshaun Hamilton the year prior, but really love Deebo Samuel. So love those kind of wide receivers. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. It's good to be back here, Scott. Thank you for holding down the fort Tuesday and Wednesday while I was gone. I'm starting to feel a little bit better with my sleep. So we appreciate you, and we appreciate you guys a lot. Make sure you're following Scott on Twitter. Scott is at Scott Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at BFB B4B. It doesn't
Just
have it on here.
For some reason,
it's DVDD pod right there. Chad goes away.
We created those. It's not that hard. I'll add one so you can find it.
I honest to God do not understand how sometimes it's different show to show when it's just the same StreamYard link. I don't know. Either way, follow us at Mile High Huddle. That one stays the same. Also, make sure you're joining us on Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And please like, subscribe, and share if you have not done so yet. You guys are great. Hopefully, the next time we see you, the Abs will be hosting the Stanley Cup. I'm not the biggest frozen stickball fan in the world, but I like it when you guys are happy. And I also like it when the stakes and the demands and expectations are risen in Denver, because that means the Broncos are going to have to, championship mindset. All right, bet. Let's go.
Well, and you know what? Having watched my share of 7-game series, if you put a 3-1 up with an overtime kill shot to go up 3-1, it's over, dude.
Curtains.
Polish the cup. It's over. You had a series on you if you'd lost that game at 3-1. They're spent. They're done. Done. Avs are winning the cup.
You guys heard us here. Scott guaranteed. If not, he's donating to a charity of your choice. No, okay. But we appreciate you guys. We will see you again on Tuesday morning for another episode. You guys have an excellent weekend. Hopefully the weather is nice where you are and you get a chance to get outside. We appreciate you. Choose kindness. Choose compassion. Go Broncos.